In the smoke-stained pages of World War II, as the old continent trembled beneath the boots of war, there were battles fought where no guns roared, no bombs tore through the sky, no blood and bone littered the battlefields. There was only a whisper, a story, a lie sown at just the right moment, powerful enough to shake an empire that seemed indestructible. Imagine this, a damp room plunged into darkness, illuminated only by the faint, greenish glow of an old radio. Trembling fingers searching through frequencies, listening amidst the incessant static. And then, a voice. A voice emerging from the void carrying seemingly harmless words, yet sharper than any blade. It didn't pierce the body. It pierced straight into the mind. It sowed an invisible virus, the virus of doubt. This wasn't conventional warfare. This was an intricate drama staged on the psychological theater of human minds. And its master director was none other than Winston Churchill. He understood that to bring down a monster like Nazi Germany, sometimes you didn't have to destroy its body. You just had to corrupt its soul. That line, "You don't have to destroy the enemy's body, just corrupt his thoughts." Churchill never actually said it, but it perfectly captures the spirit of the war he waged. A war where the enemy never knew they were being attacked. A war where the victor needed no applause. And today, on Ghosts of Strategy, we'll unveil the secret of one of the darkest and most ingenious chapters in intelligence history, when fake news became a weapon of mass destruction. Context: WWII, psychological warfare. To grasp the insidious effectiveness of this strategy, we must turn back the clock to the darkest period of World War II. Nazi Germany under the iron fist of Adolf Hitler and the diabolically cunning propaganda mastermind, Joseph Goebbels built a war machine not just of weaponry but of spirit. Goebbels was more than a minister of information. He was a sorcerer of words, a manipulator of mass psychology. He transformed lies into truth, hatred into motivation, and surrender into destiny. Millions of Germans were brainwashed, inoculated with an unwavering belief that their army was invincible, that Hitler was a military genius, chosen by God, and that the ultimate victory of the Third Reich was inevitable. Grand parades, fervent speeches echoing over the radio waves, colossal posters of Hitler as a savior, all aimed to solidify an illusion of absolute power and unbreakable unity. For Goebbels' war wasn't about seizing land, it was about seizing belief, and he excelled at his job. But Churchill, he saw deeper. He wasn't blinded by such fanfare. He understood that every system has a weakness, and the fatal weakness of a war machine built on leader worship and blind faith was precisely that faith. If you could dismantle that confidence from within, make every cog in that machine begin to doubt one another, then their material strength would mean nothing. That's when the war shifted from bloody battlefields to the battlefield of the mind. This was precisely where Churchill aimed to strike, at the fatal vulnerability of a totalitarian system. The fake news campaign, a victory in the shadows. From as early as 1941, as Britain grappled in a life-or-death struggle, Churchill approved a plan that would make even the most hardened military strategists shiver: a disinformation campaign. A secret unit was formed hidden under a seemingly innocuous name, the Political Warfare Executive, PWE. These weren't soldiers carrying guns, but warriors of words of psychology. They were linguists, psychologists, former journalists, and some of Britain's sharpest minds assembled to do one thing: sow chaos with lies. Their golden rule: half-truths are the most effective lies. They never fabricated entirely. They sought out the tiniest cracks in the Nazi system. Unverified rumors, internal conflicts, latent anxieties, and they amplified them, distorted them, transforming them into fires that consumed belief. The goal wasn't to make the enemy absolutely believe the fake news, but to sow enough doubt to make them question themselves. Hey, let's look at some of their tactics. False assassination attempts. The PWE skillfully spread rumors that Hitler had narrowly escaped assassination attempts. No concrete proof, just whispers in pubs in occupied territories, or coded messages supposedly intercepted. The purpose wasn't to convince anyone Hitler was dead, but to make high-ranking German officers who already feared for their positions wonder, who among us is against him? Is there a larger conspiracy? Doubt seeped from the highest echelons of power down to the lowest ranks. Reports of treacherous generals. The PWE relentlessly churned out fake news about German generals secretly negotiating peace with the Allies or plotting to overthrow Hitler. They even fabricated stories about high-ranking officers evading taxes, stealing assets, or being corrupt, undermining the integrity of the German military's image. These rumors were tailored to exploit real conflicts and jealousies among factions within the German army, making them doubt and scrutinize one another. The spy radio weapon. This was one of their most ingenious tactics. The PWE secretly placed tiny, almost undetectable radios inside humanitarian aid packages sent to German prisoners of war. Seemingly harmless, these radios would broadcast fabricated, top-secret news bulletins. Imagine a German POW starved for information, overjoyed to receive an aid package, and then secretly listening to this tiny radio. That inside information, retold after the POWs were repatriated, became the most credible news, spreading like a virus within Germany. Phantom radio stations. The PWE established black radio stations like Gustav Siegfried I and Soldatensender Calais, Padisa Mechme. These programs were broadcast in flawless German with authentic accents, phrasing, and even common German idioms, to the point that even German soldiers couldn't distinguish them from their official state radio. They mixed genuine news with cleverly inserted disinformation. Operation X failed due to General Wii's betrayal. Soldiers of Unit Z were abandoned because supplies were embezzled. Soldier welfare was cut due to high-ranking officials' corruption. Even real battlefield news was distorted with unsettling details added to shake faith in the high command. A German soldier, thinking he was listening to his own radio, was unwittingly poisoned by these perfectly crafted lies. Confusion and suspicion spread like an epidemic. The PWE's goal wasn't to incite a German revolt. Their goal was to erode trust, sow suspicion, and create a suffocating atmosphere of paranoia and betrayal. They wanted the German military to fight itself, to weaken from within. Strategic impact. Belief rotting from within. And it worked. What Churchill and the PWE sowed was not ordinary fear, but a persistent, acid-like suspicion. When soldiers began to doubt their leaders, their comrades, and even the very ideals they were fighting for, they ceased to be an effective war machine. When German soldiers no longer trusted each other, they were no longer an army. This was the silent yet devastating victory the PWE achieved. Its impact spread throughout the Reich. The Nazi high command, initially dismissing the rumors, gradually became extremely concerned. Hitler, already paranoid, grew even more out of control. He ordered stringent internal investigations, hunting for traitors within his own ranks. This, ironically, was exactly what the PWE wanted. It intensified the mistrust, turning once shoulder-to-shoulder comrades into potential adversaries. The Gestapo and SS, instead of focusing on external enemies, had to divert precious resources and manpower to hunt down phantom betrayers within their own military. German soldiers hesitated to obey orders. Faith in the chain of command wavered, and they constantly eyed each other with suspicion. In a captured document after the war, a high-ranking SS officer was recorded lamenting, "We are losing, not because of Allied bombs, but because of the suspicion among us." This was no exaggeration. This was the raw, most painful confession of an internal defeat. The invisible war had penetrated their most valuable asset, their unwavering belief in themselves and in the Nazi ideology. Germany's propaganda machine, once formidable and seemingly invincible, found itself battling an invisible enemy of doubt. Official German news bulletins increasingly had to issue urgent appeals to the public and the troops. Do not listen to enemy radio. Do not believe the rumors. They are the enemy's lies. But it was too late. The seeds had been sown. Soldiers smashed their radios in frustration and confusion, unsure what was real and what was fake. Comrades who had fought side by side for years now eyed each other with suspicion, sometimes even accusing each other of being British spies. The regime, obsessed with external threats, found itself grappling with a self-inflicted wound, a virus of paranoia eating away at its core from within. This was a psychological collapse on a national scale, a testament to the destructive power of targeted disinformation. Silent victory, unapplauded heroes, voiceover, emotional, profound with a touch of pathos, ending reflectively. The world knows of war heroes with guns and grand victories on the battlefield. But no magnificent monuments were erected to honor the men and women who meticulously crafted these fake news reports. No public parades celebrated those who drove an entire nation to panic, to doubt itself. Simply with a voice on the radio, a whisper printed on a leaflet. Their names remain largely unknown, their faces unseen by the masses they so profoundly influenced. But they won. They achieved a victory without firing a single shot, yet won with a weight equal to the greatest battles. They saved countless lives, shortened the war by weakening the enemy from within, inflicting damage far beyond what any bomb could do. They proved that the pen, or in this case, the microphone, could indeed be mightier than the sword. They waged a war not on flesh and bone, but on the very spirit of the enemy, and they succeeded spectacularly. Their legacy is not carved in stone, nor sung in heroic ballads, but lies within the annals of strategic warfare. A silent yet potent testament to the enduring power of information, even when manipulated. It was a victory won in the shadows, unapplauded, but utterly decisive, a ghost of strategy that changed the world, leaving an indelible mark. Strategic lessons, thinking for the present. In our current era, an era of information explosion and digital noise, the lessons from the PWE become even more chilling and valuable. When the lines between truth and fake news blur increasingly, and belief sometimes matters more than objective fact, we face an unprecedentedly complex information battlefield. The story of Churchill and the PWE teaches us a chilling yet incredibly powerful lesson. The fastest way to win or to gain an advantage in any confrontation is often not through direct engagement, but by making your opponent doubt themselves. It's about discrediting their internal narratives, eroding their confidence, and fostering an environment of self-questioning. This isn't just a historical anecdote. It's a timeless principle of influence and psychological warfare that we still see playing out in various forms today, from politics and business to social relationships. Understanding this history is crucial to recognizing the tactics being used around us and to protecting ourselves from similar viruses of doubt. What are your thoughts on this silent, fake news war in World War II? Do you think these tactics, refined and adapted, are still powerfully at play in today's world? And perhaps we are part of it, just in more sophisticated forms. Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. If you found this deep, dramatic, strategic analysis fascinating, don't forget to subscribe to Ghosts of Strategy to continue exploring untold stories of cunning and secret influence in history. And to understand more about intricate deception, check out our related video, Operation Bodyguard, the greatest deception of World War II, another masterpiece of how the Allies outsmarted the enemy without firing a single shot.